Greetings everybody, Father Mike here. This is again Elements of Faith, and we're on our last window on the eastern wall of the historic St. Joseph Catholic Church here in Shelbyville. I wanted to look at this window from several different perspectives again, just kind of like last time, from the perspective of every individual in this window. Let's start with the couple. So this window is depicting a wedding celebration. And in those days, celebrations or wedding celebrations went on days and days and days. And that's, so it was kind of a big, huge communal event. It was a really big deal when somebody got married. Same for us now, but our parties are a little shorter, aren't they? But to see in this couple, first of all, notice how they're in the background. It's interesting, isn't it? Marriage is so important, of course, in the eyes of God. It's in the first page of the Bible, where Adam and Eve, the first marriage, the last page of the Bible, the wedding feast of heaven, first miracle depicted right here. Marriage is super important to God. But notice how Jesus in this window is in the foreground. The couple is in the background. Same as it should be in married life. That the couple realizes that there's somebody greater, and that's Jesus. And one of the readings used at weddings often for the gospel is when Jesus says, "Build your life on rock." And I always tell couples, as you seek to build this married life together, which you're starting today, build your marriage on the rock that is Jesus. Because then, come whatever storm might come, your marriage will stand firm. Because why? You've built it on Jesus. And Jesus, who's in the foreground of your married life. This couple did something right, did a lot of things right. It looks like they seem to be a pretty good couple. Again, in the background, we never know their names, important piece. But they have invited Jesus and Mary to their marriage. The scripture says they were invited to the marriage. Not just the wedding, to the marriage. An invitation from this bride and groom. And so, same for us, right, with with marriages in the church today. And it does seem at times that we've developed a rather cavalier attitude towards marriage, where a couple might think that we can do it all on our own and that we don't need the Lord and we don't need to get married in the church, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Forgetting to build this marriage on a rock, forgetting to invite Jesus and Mary into the marriage. And so it's a reminder for us. This couple is a good reminder to us. Let's look at our next individual. How about we look at the wine steward? Notice how he is there on the ground, and he's on his knees, a very good place to be when we're in the sight of Jesus. And take a look at his belt. He has around his belt a pair of keys. And a wise person once said that those keys represent the beginning of Jesus' public ministry. So this window, of course, depicting, as I said, I think, the first public miracle of Jesus. In other words, the beginning of his public ministry. And so the keys here around his belt kind of unlocking that. And here we have this wine steward whose job was, of course, to take care of the wine for the party. As I said, it went on for days and days, and so you had to have plenty of wine, And look at his amazement. Look at how he's like, you can kind of see on his face that Jesus has just worked a miracle here. There was not wine here, and now there's wine here. He's turned this water into wine. And remember, in the scripture, this comes from John chapter, I think it's John chapter 2. This depicts here the overflowing quality or quantity of the wine, but also the quality of the wine, because it's really good wine. And so Jesus just worked this miracle, and the wine steward is kind of looking at it like, oh my gosh, this just happened. The next person to look at, let's look at the Blessed Virgin Mary. We see in her face a kind of quiet prayerfulness, of course, as always is there, and a resignation that Jesus' ministry is about to begin. And what is to unfold is going to unfold. And I will be here to watch it. I will be here to be a part of it. Never let us forget that Mary is a part of our own life with God. Look, in this window, it tells the story of how this wine ran out, and the people and Mary is the one that brings it to Jesus' attention. In other words, Mary intercedes here at the very first miracle that Jesus is working. And Mary intercedes in our own lives too, right? In our own prayers. We go to Mary, Mary takes the need to Jesus, and then the need is taken care of. Jesus works the miracle that is brought to him, and a lot of times that happens with Blessed Mother. Okay, so let's take a look at that beautiful Mary, and remember from that the lesson from her, the lesson of going to her with our prayers, with our needs, and also a kind of quiet submission to the will of God. The last person, of course, to look at, not the last, but the greatest, Jesus himself. Here we see Jesus with his arms outstretched over the wine. Should make us think about the priest at Holy Mass, who extends his hands over the bread and the wine in order to bring about that consecration. That's known as the epiclesis, when the priest does that. And so here we see Jesus doing what Jesus does best, which is blessing. And so transforming, you might say, transforming this water into wine. Jesus transforms the bread into his flesh at Mass, the wine into his blood. And so those hands are hands of transformation, hands of blessing. I think this window, it's all about love, right? It's why God invented marriage. It's why Mary is there bringing our prayers to Jesus. It's why we too, just like this wine steward, just kind of, sometimes our jaw should just hit the floor and our eyes should be wide open, being like, oh my gosh, that miracle just happened. And it's why Jesus did everything that Jesus did, and why he does everything that he does, all at the service of love. And that's the only thing that endures forever. And remember that God is love. May you have a wonderful day. God bless you.